Communities living in Fordsburg and surrounding areas here in Johannesburg have lamented the lack of service delivery in the area. The once vibrant suburb has been marred by decay and lawlessness. SABC News visited the area this week to see what life is like 30 years since the dawn of democracy.
We're in the inner city of Johannesburg in an area called Mayfair. It also borders Fordsburg, which is one of the areas we've been highlighting through the day, looking at where it came from with its historic importance for many South African Indians, but also economic migrants who found work and a place for business and enterprise. It also was home to many South African Indians as well as those of colored descent over the years from the 1920s when apartheid brought in the Group Areas Act. It was an area that was highly contested, but over the years has become a place of mixed nationalities, a smorgasbord of many African nationals as well as those from various other countries, but that has brought its own level of issues, specifically around decay in the area. We've spoken with community members, getting a sense of how it feels like to be a resident in this area now. And I'm bringing a leader who's been speaking with us through the day to just get a sense, what was the area like when they started? Thank you so much for speaking to us. When you moved here just, post-apartheid in 1994, what was this area like for you?
At that point, we still had law and order. Largely a place that was, I would say, governable, and today it's become the total opposite of that.
When you talk about this ungovernability, what are some of the issues that are forcing that to happen?
There's various issues. I think right now we're sitting with probably 3 to 4 murders that have taken place in a space of 2 weeks within the Mayfair area alone. And it's just somebody parking his car that gets shot at point blank range. There's no motive, there's no modus operandi, but also we don't have the support from SABC. In fact, our Brixton police station doesn't even have a working telephone number where they can be contacted. So if you need to reach out to Brixton, you need to get hold of 1011, and they would then get hold of Brixton. But you on your own, if you need to reach out to the police, you can't.
You bring safety in, and what are some of the other issues with regards to the number of people that are moving into this area, whether it be foreign nationals, whether it be locals here? How is that now impacted on the safety and crime in the area?
The advent of little tuck shops that have opened up on literally every street corner has brought in employment. I would say people that come in for either operating these tuck shops, number one, or it could also possibly be, employment at the tuck shop. And these have sprung up literally in every corner. And then we have scrap metal shops that have been allowed to open up residential properties as well. So that, and then because we border towards the CBD, people that have found employment in the CBD, the closest for them to find living is Fordsburg, Mayfair, obviously. The overflow from Fitas, the overflow from Slovo Park, all finds its way into Mayfair. And yeah, the residences that have been converted into businesses, that has obviously taken away a lot of law, because every house is literally now a business, and that has taken away a lot of law from within streets that were governable at one stage. And yeah, the influx of whether foreign or local is almost on a daily basis. Ungovernability Park is full of people that have nowhere to go, whether they local or whether they foreign nationals. And because of the Indian and Muslim community being the way that they are, the charity is big. The Ungovernability Park houses these people because they get literally 3 meals a day. And the influx of people that don't have anything, especially even during COVID, they found themselves in Ungovernability Park. They've actually made that a place for themselves to stay.
When we were driving through, you pointed out some areas to us, and some of them are former or actually state-owned spaces that were made for public use now being governed by a unofficial landlord to get monies out of. How has that been, allowed to happen?
Like I say again, it's when you look for SABC or when you look for people to come to your assistance when this is happening, when it's rife, you just don't get the support from anybody. Everybody turns a blind eye on what's happening, and it's allowed to go on. So we've got a good number of properties that have already been taken over by people that brand themselves, they say we're part of this organization or that organization, and we need to take over this house because there's one person living in, and they bring in other families to come into that house to stay with the residents of that house. So it's a challenge we face almost on a daily basis in this area.
We've spoken with the councillor, and he said, he feels this area needs a messiah, and he's not one. Have you seen any difference since this councillor was brought in the last 2 or 3 years?
Where Uncle Ricky is concerned, I must be honest, I think he bends over backwards. Being from the community, that's lived in the community, that's been part of the CPF for all this time, he's actually bent over backwards to try and do the impossible. But again, his hands are also tied. He can stretch only that far. There's I would call him an unsung hero, because what he does, half of it is highlighted to us, and the other half we don't know about. Just last week we were at a meeting that he called with the heads of Metro Police, the heads of SABC, and all of that, where we needed to address the crime, and that's why he needed to get all these role players involved for us to be able to address these issues. Even they realize, as the councillor and Metro Police and SABC, this has gone out of hand totally.
You're speaking on crime, and driving through just now, we noticed that the Gauteng Premier's Panyaza's army of his police brigade, we saw them walking through the streets. We also noticed that there were police officers that were doing raids on undocumented foreign nationals. There's also been reports in the last few weeks of that happening at the Fordsburg market. Do you think it's too little too late?
Look, if the police presence that you've seen today, judging from the amount of people that have actually come into this area, if that police presence can be more regular, I'm not saying they need to be here every day, more regular, and crime, well, not even crime, law can be started, it can be enforced. That I think will play a big role. And then obviously government needs to come in and say, look, we can't allow every residence to become business. When residential areas, without being zoned, without anything happening, you just decide to open your garage doors and it's a business. Obviously there's repercussions, there's taxes that need to be paid, there's stuff that you need to do that need to comply with what government requires of you to open up a business and so forth. Then obviously only once compliances are met, then you can basically take that forward. Other than that, I don't think that should be allowed at all.
We're going into the elections less than a month, and what are some of the things you as a resident of this area wishes and hopes you'd see some change in?
To be honest with you, I see further decay. I don't see anything improving. We've been left alone for far too long, and with the way this is going, it's a downhill battle. There's nobody's door that we can knock on and expect them to help us.